Welcome to episode 53 of the official podcast for Guardian 1, a Destiny group dedicated to the prosperity of Guardians everywhere. We broadcast live Thursdays at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 Eastern, right here on twitch.tv/Guardian1 Network. My name is Remy, and tonight I am joined by River.
Yay, we made it.
Crimson Warlock.
What's up, everybody?
Agrios.
Greetings, Guardians.
And Jez.
That's not my name anymore. It's now Heavy Slot Sword.
Heavy Slot Sword. All right. And Heavy Slot Sword.
Suck up.
Thank you.
We are going to be talking about all things Destiny, but first, housekeeping.
All right, everybody. Thank you for listening in on the podcast, however it is that you're choosing to listen. Be sure to follow Guardian1 on Twitter at G1Net. That's G1NET. In addition, be sure to check out the Guardian1 website at guardian1.net. You can also send us feedback to our email, feedback@guardian1.net. We also have a budg.net forums group that's currently at 198 members. We utilize the forums for comments and feedback, so be sure to join the conversations going on there. Big thank you to all of those currently in the Twitch chat. As Remy said at the top of the podcast, you can watch the show live at twitch.tv/Guardian1 Network. We broadcast every Thursday at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. And if you can't catch the show live, you can always search for the Guardian 1 on iTunes, as well as the Guardian 1 YouTube channel at youtube.com/Guardian1 Network. Guardian 1 is a proud member of the Guardian Radio Network, so be sure to check out the Guardian Radio Network website at theguardiansofdestiny.com. There you'll find all the different podcasts as part of the network, including the flagship podcast Guardian Radio. They broadcast every Monday night at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Pacific on twitch.tv/Guardian Radio. You can also follow their Twitter account at Guardians of D and their YouTube channel, youtube.com/Guardians of D. Other podcasts include Aim Assist Gaming, TTL Party Chat, Rest in Peace, Robust Radio, and if you want to read the Grimoire without actually reading the Grimoire, you can check out the Ghost and Echoes podcast. Check that out. And let's see, real quick, before we continue on, I just wanted to have a little announcement for everybody that whenever the Taken King comes out, I will not be on the podcast every single week. I'll be switching over to a bi-weekly schedule, so every other week I'll be on the podcast. My wife has actually accepted a new job, so new scheduling, and we've decided that it's probably best for us, since she's going to be on a night schedule, to kind of utilize this like 5-day break that she'll have every other week, to where, it'll be us and enjoying being married, basically. So it's been a fun run as far as that. However, that's going to free up a lot more time for me to do Twitch streaming for Destiny. I'm looking at probably doing every Tuesday night. As far as doing streaming for Guardian 1, we're still kind of going through the logistics on that. But definitely look out for more streaming from me, twitch.tv/SDFRiver. And if we can get the logistics going on Remy, maybe I can do a lot more for Guardian 1 as far as streaming on the Guardian 1 network Twitch stream. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. And soon I will be opening an application to people who are interested in being part of our broadcasts. I would like to have a really nice presence in the streaming community. Everything from, personal achievements and community gatherings to things like getting people through triumphs, or if we have some badass PvP players, I'd really love to help people to the lighthouse, just because that's the nature of this game is helping each other out. So definitely in the next week or two here, we will definitely know more about that and exciting things in the future for Guardian 1 and the people involved here. And so, yes.
Now, again, I'm not leaving until like around when the Taken King comes out. So you still got a month to deal with my ass on here.
So do you know at what point you will begin this? And will it be just a straight up every other week? Will we be able to tell time by the whether River is on the show or not?
Absolutely, yeah. Right now, my wife hasn't really started the new schedule just yet, but right now the way things are going, we're looking at maybe the week of the Taken King is when I'm not going to.
Got it.
But
got it.
After that, it'll be every other week. I'll be here, and then Hollow River's going to be here, and me again. It'll just be a rotation.
Can you record like canned Hollow River answers to generic questions so
yes,
we can have you continue in the podcast?
That sounds
Remy
so
can
fantastic.
just play. He
So
can
it'll be
just
like,
play
Yeah,
the sound.
you need a flat out like I agree and I disagree and a base defense of like Xbox, and then just give Remy power of attorney, and when he feels like you would agree or disagree, he can hit that button and we'll have Hollow River pop in.
We need a Hollow River soundboard, apparently.
I figured it'd be
exactly.
like bloop 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 bloop, like 3 second long sound, and then and then it would replay
good.
that 3 second sound.
That was a really good imitation of the ghost showing up. Boop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop. Excellent. Yes, sad to have you go, but I understand, and I haven't decided yet whether I want to have somebody replace you on the permanent, or maybe just have that be a swing slot for other people in the Guardian 1 community to come in. Some people I would definitely like to have on the show that I would also like to have you on, River. So it's not something where it's like, well, this will be the guest, this will be the guest week when River's not around, because that kind of sucks. You're a big part of this community, and knowing what you have to say is probably why there's anybody in the chat right now. So I appreciate you bringing your fans. I am one myself.
Oh, thank you. I'm a fan too.
So we haven't figured out all of the everything yet, but we are working on it. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll definitely be doing a lot more like playing Destiny with our listeners and people out of the community. But you have to have an Xbox One.
Yep. Have to have an Xbox One, which I do. Do you know what we're doing for the post stream tonight yet?
Beats me, honestly. It's whatever you need.
Got it. Well, then we will work that out later. Cool. Well, then let's move on to a new segment that I would like to call, "Hey Jez, what's up with that?" And this is not to be confused with the outrageously funny SNL skit with a similar name starring Kenan Thompson. Jez is my go-to guy. Like, whenever I need to know an answer one way or the other, Jez sniffs the information out through the internet like nobody's business.
The answer's 7.
So I wanted to put him on the spot for a second and see if he can find this answer, because I really got to know. But I wanted to also give everybody else on the panel an opportunity to just tell me straight out. Like, this is an opportunity for Jez to shine, but it's also an opportunity for someone to come in and steal that awesomeness right out from underneath him. So
A weird game show.
So this week, I absolutely positively have to know why the compass on Suros regime reads the opposite of a regular compass. Like, there's other weapons in the game that have a compass, a radial compass, that goes in the correct way, but there's other ones that go in the opposite way. And I have to know what this is about. Like, was this specifically designed, or did some kind of whatever it was trying to find and is north and south still north and south? Like, does it just read the opposite and it's still accurate? I don't really
No.
know how it could be. Do you know? Do you just know the answer right off the top of your head, Jez?
I'm pretty sure it spins faster than you could spin, so it's not even just that.
No, it lines up the same way every time I hit a certain spot. Like north on Suros' compass is always north, or it is always the same direction, no matter if I spin around really fast or not. I tested that.
They are just decoration.
What's that?
They are just decoration.
Well, then how come some of them are actual compass? Like they work in the same way. Like when you turn
They're not
left,
really pointing anywhere specific in the game.
are they not?
I mean, they're like a fixed decoration, so they have that direction they point, and no matter which way you spin, they're pointing that direction. But it's not like that direction really means anything. People thought it was trying to lead you to chests and stuff originally, and then there's, of course, it might just be pointing north, is what people postulated. But there's actually a Reddit thread created a while ago where they figured out where it was pointing on planets, and it didn't make sense for north
Interesting.
because of where the sun was and stuff like that.
Interesting. Well, Jez, you've got your work cut out for you. If that's the answer, I want to hear it from you, Jez. So
why did they go opposite directions? That I couldn't really tell you if there's a meaning behind that, or if the guy just hit the invert button when he patched it on that one.
right, it just
Maybe all of our guardians were left-handed, and they just reversed it.
I don't know that makes much sense. Okay, so why don't we get to some Destiny news here? Agrios, take it away.
All right, so lots of stuff this week. We had the big year 2 reveal happened on Wednesday, and that's what the main meat of the Bungie Weekly Update is this week as well. I mean, I was pretty excited by what I saw. We just want to discuss first impressions off that before we get into the meat of the news? I think maybe we should discuss our impressions right beforehand.
Yeah, you think so? What do you think, River?
Initial impressions?
Initial impressions. Are you excited about it, or?
I'm less excited and more hopeful by the information that we just received out of the stream. Everything seems to be going in a really nice direction, and I just think that Destiny is getting better every iteration that we're coming across here. So, yeah, that's really all I got on that.
What do you think, Crimson Warlock?
So my main opinion, and I had a discussion with a coworker about this earlier the week, but when Destiny first launched, it was a first-person shooter trying to be an RPG, and you can't really do that with RPGs. Like, you have to go lean towards an RPG more, or else those elements are just going to hold your game back. And the things that were revealed in The Taken King kind of put those RPG elements more in the place that they needed to be to make the game a better hybrid that married the two together. And so I feel like going forward, we're going to see more of the RPG elements that are needed to make the game more successful. And we're also going to see more of the action elements to make the first-person shooter part more successful.
Interesting. Jez, what's your take?
Well, it just feels more fleshed out of a game than what we got at launch, which is definitely a good thing. So, yeah, pretty hyped. I guess hyped is the best word for it. Hyperbole. Hyperbole.
What about you, Agrios? You watched the stream. I'm certain with great interest. How are you feeling about all of this?
I'm pretty psyched. I lots of quality of life improvements. I mean, so many of us spend so many hours of our lives with this game. I mean, all these little things they're doing are going to add up to a whole lot of extra fun. And I think really that was my main takeaway is Bungie has really taken not wasting our time to heart and really tried to maximize our time with Destiny with things that are fun.
Interesting. I while I was watching it, I was very excited, and it occurred to me that I really need Bungie. I really want Bungie to do this with every major release. Like, I want there to be a day that I get excited about finding out about this news and then sharing my thoughts with this community. Like, they really give us a lot to chew on. Really give us basically what we want. Like, when you get into something as simple as double vault space, I can't argue with that. That turns what I have into a like I can go out and get more gear without having to delete a bunch of stuff. I mean, the vault space is going to be full instantly. Like, both of my Guardians, there's this meme I saw a long time ago that said reloading is for lamos, to put it nicely. And it showed this guy with just, like, I don't know, 100 guns strapped to his back. It was like, and that's the way I feel right now. Like, each of my Guardians is just juggling, is just walking around the Cosmodrome throwing weapons at bad guys in hopes that does damage, because they can't operate their weapons right this second. So it's instantly going to be filled, but I think that's really great. But what's that?
Go ahead. I was going to say, although with the new power difference, think of how many of your weapons you're not really sentimentally attached to, that you just have them because they fill that role really, really good. Like snipers and fusions and shotguns of various different elements that you hold no love for other than it does its job really well. They're all going to get replaced rather than take up extra room, I think, to a degree. I think part of the problem with the first time we got our vault increase was that there wasn't even enough room initially for a complete collection of everything you needed, like to fill all the roles that the game was asking of you.
Yeah.
Whereas when they gave us that space, we got just enough room then to fill all the roles, but no space for extra collecting or to add new too. And I have a feeling that I think we're going to end up replacing a lot of those guns that we're not sentimental to, just because of the change in power and that, Iron Banner and stuff like that.
Okay, so before the game came out, even up to a year before the game came out, we were given certain details that ended up changing over time, and a lot of people have been saying that Destiny is just now leaving its beta, and I feel like on some levels that this is kind of accurate. Like we have moved on from what is a much dumber system to a smarter system, but I feel like this is what we're going to see every year. This is what we're going to see with every update. Is the version before is going to feel like it was a beta to what we're doing now. Because when I think back to before the game came out, they talked about locking subclasses. They talked about locking your subclass and then gaining a little boost of everything so that this is my Blade Dancer subclass. And at some point before the game launched, they realized, man, this isn't going to work. What would be even better is if we didn't lock it and then we let people switch up whatever ones they wanted. This way we would save space, so it wasn't like, oh, well, is this the Blade Dancer that I like, or is this the Blade Dancer that I like? So you're not constantly swapping different of the same subclasses. I mean, that is probably something that they had in the game for a while. They probably thought it was really cool, at least enough to talk about it in the open. But it's all just this learning, this is not Destiny 2, this is Destiny Extended. Like, this is just what the world looks like now. I was really excited watching the stream because I'm watching this evolution. I'm watching this game that I love move forward. Even if it's scary, and even if it's, I'm not going to have a reason to keep all the weapons and stuff that I have right now. I mean, there's still a lot we don't know, but it's, having to think about just getting everything all over again. They had to make that fun. They had to make it worth people's time, and I'm interested in seeing how that happens. I read that your new rating is based on the gear you have on your characters and the gear that you have in your vaults. People like me who are just got weapons out the eyeballs. It's going to be awesome to be rewarded for that, and it makes me sad because just recently I've been thinking about live streaming a conversation with anybody who wanted to come along with what should I delete. I want to explore Destiny some more. Can't do it without more space. So I ended up deciding that I just hate Future War Cult machine guns. Can't do it. The rate of fire is just too high. I've already got enough bullet holes in my life. I can't do it. So I just went through and deleted all of them. Boom, 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 right across the board. And now I'm sad that I've done this because that would have added to my rating.
No, I don't think it quite works that way. I think what they're referring to is that it tracks the maximum things that you've hit based upon the gear that you have. So, like, it's going to rate the gear pieces you have, and it's going to find out whatever the best one you've achieved in that category is, and then add all those best ones up. I don't think really just having literally more guns is going to add or take away anything.
I hope that you're right. Somebody on the show, I believe, said that they didn't think that there was actually going to be swords in Destiny 2.0, and we talked about this, and I was certain that icon was a sword and definitely not the sleeper simulant. And now we know swords, everyone.
Yes.
Oh man, I'm so excited for swords. All right, I'm getting ahead of ourselves.
Yes.
Why don't you go through the information, and then maybe we could start back up at the top, or we could pick out everything. You know what? Let me just take stock real quick. River, what is it that you have to talk about before we leave?
Before we leave?
Yeah.
Where are we going?
Well, we're going to the post stream after this, but before we end the podcast, what do you got to talk about? I want to make sure I hit
nothing now. They freaking thrashed my entire exotic theory in the Bungie weekly update. So now I have I don't know.
Now you just want to talk about overall?
Hell
okay.
Yeah.
Crimson Warlock, is there something that you need to talk about? Get out before we leave?
No, I'm just ready to add comments as we get to each thing.
Jez?
So, quick update on that original thing that you talked about. The compass points to where you're pointing, not north. That's why it follows you.
The compass points to where I'm pointing.
So if you turn to the right, it follows you. It makes it super weird of a compass. That's why it's so weird.
No, yeah, totally. But why is that?
It's just a compass.
It's just not even a compass. It's a dial. It's a decorative dial.
It is a compass, except north.
Except north what, Jez? I think we lost you.
Top of your gun. An arbitrary north. What? Oh, apparently that was a lag.
Yeah,
the compass points to an arbitrary north. The top of your dial is north, not the arrow.
All right, so here's what I need. I need that value to make sense. Like I feel like there will be a great teamwork gained by saying north. Like if you have a compass, like I'm looking at that thing all the time. Like
if you're looking at it and the dial's at the top, you're headed north. If it's to the right, you're headed east. If it's to the bottom, you're headed south.
Yeah, that sucks.
It's just the opposite way to display a compass, really.
All right, Agrios, anything that you want to have to talk about before we go?
Oh, I have tons of stuff to talk about. Tons of stuff to talk about. But what you were just saying about the whole, the first part of Destiny being a beta, I had something to add to that. I really think that this is the evolution of games. I think this is where we're going to see more and more and more of this in games. I mean, Destiny has done tons of things that no other game does. I mean, when you start to try to think about other games that have a lot of the same qualities as Destiny, I start to draw a blank as far as what's currently available out there. And I mean, would you rather have just had them work on Destiny for another like 2 or 3 years to get to the point where we're going to have it at this fall? Or would you rather have got to play it that whole time? I really think that we're just going to be playing the development. I mean, we see more and more actual betas all the time. I really think we're just going to be playing the development of games. And that's just natural evolution of things.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. And I really enjoy being part of that. I really like that I'm able to express what it is that I think the game should be, and it looks like Bungie agrees. Like, you know, when you say, I wish that this did this, I'm certain that there's, you know, no less than a quarter of the people there who are going like, yes, this is exactly what I want too, but certain things need to be done in order. So yeah, I don't know. It's really exciting.
Without the input they gained from the millions of people playing, how long would it have really taken them to develop the changes that they have made this past year? Like, I'm sure they, you know, would have taken them many more years than just one to make all these changes without all that valuable input.
I would say that the spoken feedback wasn't nearly as awesome as the actual player data. Like, you know, when somebody complains that Thorn is OP, I mean, that they're looking at the data. They can see, you know, exactly where people are going to do what. You know, they knew we were hiding underneath those vents at the Archon Priest, and they made it very difficult to go back underneath there because that wasn't really part of what they were trying to do. So I feel like you're dead on with that, Agrios, but it's way more on the behind the scenes. Like I
That's
bet
actually
it's
what I meant as far as like all that input. I meant like literally all that data input that they gained from those millions of people playing. So you're saying exactly what I meant.
Got it.
There's
I
kind of
got
an
a
old
question
quote.
really quick.
Yeah, what is your question?
This is for Dado if he's listening. Are our beta characters transferring to year 2?
Well, if he was listening, he's not anymore.
Thanks a lot, Crimson.
Right?
So it's kind of an old quote saying that a delayed game is eventually good, but a game rushed is bad forever. Really doesn't apply anymore because a lot of games are always a work in progress. The ones that just kind of put out a game and then let it go are probably not the most community focused teams.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't even imagine. I like looking at how Bungie is handling Destiny. I can't even imagine getting the game to perfect and then releasing it into the wild and not being able to update it, or, you know, like what happens when there's a giant loophole and your team has been disbanded. You know, it's, I don't know, kind of sucks.
Well, I think a lot of game companies are probably going to start following suit once they finally realize that this is something that can work out for them in the long run as well. They wanted to take a franchise, extend it out over a long period of time, and just keep on developing it over, you know, a decade or so, just like that. Look at Activision's freaking reaping in the money, obviously. I mean, look at Skylanders, freaking pretty much anything else that they put out. I can't really think of anything else right now.
You know, I kind of thought more games would go the Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon route, like make new games on the old game systems, like the old game engines, and just reskin them to make better experiences faster. But they haven't done that, and I don't know why. Making iterations rather than making full, complete new games.
I don't know.
No one's getting on that train just yet.
I think it's more because, I mean, they love their game, and so they're going to make it the best that they can before they have to abandon ship and work on a project. There. Yeah.
Alrighty, so why don't you go through? Do you have like a bullet point, Agrios? Is that what?
Yeah. Well, I was going to go down the in the weekly update. They provided a list of questions, and apparently they've kind of got pounded with these questions. So I was going to go over them for a light start, and then I was going to dig into. I have bullet points of the details compiled by the community, a little more specific than the ones there. But
Okay,
the weekly update really covers the core important things. So I was going to go down that first.
Yeah, I going back and listening to some of our episodes, I feel like it's really advantageous to go through the list first, so that just the information is out there, and so no matter how long-winded I become, that information has still been downloaded to each person who listens. So yeah, why don't we do that? Why don't you hit that bullet point, and then we'll just pick it apart.
Awesome. Okay, so why are the numbers on Guardians different? We altered the way light and level are calculated to enable a more streamlined evolution of your characters. Leveling up your Guardian is now a product of earning experience in the game, and increasing your light is now a product of acquiring and equipping more powerful gear. How will you calculate the new numbers you'll assign to my Guardian in Year 2? We'll determine your level based on the gear in your inventory and your vault. Don't dismantle your best stuff before the Year 2 adventure. And now they've been stressing that up and down. Do not dismantle your best stuff. And also, there's been a little bit of conflicting reports because of the way they phrase things during the reveal and whatnot, but I wouldn't recommend deleting one-of-a-kind shaders, emblems, ships, things like that yet. It's unclear as to whether the system's going to remember the things you've unlocked if you delete them before the next update and the Taken King. What about weapons and my armor? The attack and defense ratings are different too. We've changed the values of Year 1 items to provide a unified experience that flows seamlessly into Year 2. Aside from the weapon tuning in Update 2.0, your Year 1 weapons will perform in Year 1 activities as you would expect. Now, in addition to this, I wanted to add that there was a tweet that came out. I forgot to note from who. I think it was from Luke Smith, that the attack and defense ratings for the 365 weapons, for instance, are going to convert to 170. So that's going to be the new base number that the level 34 weapons and such are going to be a rating of 170. But they're still going to do the exact same damage in Year 1 stuff that they do now, for instance, aside from the weapon tuning. How do those exotic blueprints work? When players discover an exotic, they will also have discovered the blueprint for it. What do you mean by blueprint? It's a schematic required to craft previously discovered weapons and armor. What do you mean by... Oh, I'm sorry. Once you have collected a blueprint for an exotic, you can purchase it anew using the required forms of currency. Blueprints enable us to acquire a copy of the same. Blueprints enable us to acquire a copy of the same item. Blueprints provide you with a new item that must be upgraded. The blueprint stations are not an extension of your vault. Your space there has been doubled for easy access to your favorite upgraded items. Where are my blueprints stored? Blueprints are stored in 2 collection stations near the vanguards in the Hall of Guardians, one for exotic weapon blueprints, one for exotic armor blueprints. How do I unlock new blueprints? They're achieved automatically when you discover a new exotic. I feel like I already was told that. Can I share them between my Guardians? Yes. Blueprints for discovered exotics can be accessed by any character on your account. Which exotics will be available in Year 2? In addition to a bunch of brand new exotics for you to discover in Year 2, we're redesigning and redeploying select exotics from Year 1. For example, no backup plans has been redesigned. We significantly extended the duration of the old perk, Improved Disintegrate. Did you redesign Gallowhorn? Gallowhorn will remain a Year 1 exotic at Year 1 levels.
Wah, wah.
Now, at this time, I'd like to add to supplement here. We have noted Year 1 weapons that are known to be carrying over at this point. Now, granted, this is during the reveal, and anything can change, although we would hope that they have it mostly locked down during the reveal. But ones known to be carrying over are Soros Regime, Hawk Moon, Last Word, Monte Carlo, Red Death, Bad Juju, Invective, Fourth Horseman, Thunderlord, and Truth. You'll note that all of the previously PlayStation exclusive weapons that are now going to be released to the Xbox players are all included on the upgrade list.
Good.
The ones that apparently are not going to carry over for sure are Necrochasm, Hardlight, Thorn, Vex Mythoclast, Icebreaker, Universal Remote, Gallahorn, as mentioned, and Super Good Advice. That leaves the unknown exotics as Plan C, Queensbreaker's Bow, Dreg's Promise, Lord of Wolves, Pocket Infinity, Might of Multitool, No Land Beyond, Patience in Time, and Dragon's Breath. Now, if we're going to go by what we know from the ones that don't appear to be upgrading, neither of the raid exotics are upgrading, which would imply that possibly the Queenbreaker's Bow, Dreg's Promise, and Lord of Wolves would be removed from that unknown list and probably not going to upgrade. But that's just speculation.
I kind of feel like the ones they're taking out are the ones that are above and beyond used. You know, like this is the Yellowhorn being used in, you know, so many more situations than everything else. You have to take that out for people to use other stuff. I would just still use it. Like I just always equipped my Yellowhorn because it was important for me not to get attached to an exotic. I don't know why, but I felt like using a legendary was better as a primary. You know, and I don't even know why. Like, as I'm saying this out loud to you, I can't even imagine why I thought that. But I just always kept it on, or even Icebreaker. Icebreaker was a very easy one just to always have with me. So I'm really excited that that's coming along. Yeah.
Wait, Icebreaker?
Yeah.
No, Icebreaker is not coming along. Did I misunderstand what you just said?
Yeah, it's not coming along. It's staying behind.
Is one of the ones being eliminated is not coming along. That's on the not list.
So yeah, so all of the ones that you listed that we don't know about, I can't see any of those being left behind. I mean, a lot of people complain about like Dreg's Promise. It's what's that?
The problem is that from the video we have determined that there are only 4 slots remaining for that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 possible weapons. So 5 of those are going to be eliminated.
Got it. I understand now.
So that's why the 3 House of Wolves ones are speculated to be amongst those going to be eliminated, because Necrochasm and Vex Mythoclast both were, and they were both endgame exotics, so to speak.
Got it.
But then that leaves Plan C, Mida, No Land Beyond, Patience in Time, and Dragon Breath as the which of those 6 will take up the 4 remaining slots. That is if nothing changes from the reveal.
Got it.
Are we going to go ahead and talk about the whole exotic stuff right now? Are we going to...
You know, we might as well. That's pretty much the sum of my exotics. Let me see if I have 1 or 2 other details on my other list here. I don't think... Yeah, no, that's all I have on exotics. So why don't we go ahead and discuss them right now?
Okay. All right, Ripper, go for it.
Okay. One of the things that I wanted to point out was that it was said during the stream that they are making plans to still take some of these Year 1 weapons and possibly convert them over to Year 2 sometime in the future. So this is not a permanent list of weapons and gear that are not going to go to the Year 2. I think that's very important to emphasize because people are going to be angry, obviously, about, you know, Thorn, Icebreaker, Yellowhorn, all these super powerful weapons that they had, and that they just put, you know, the weapon update stuff too whenever the Taken Kings comes out. They're like, why did you nerf my Yellowhorn when it's not even going to go to Year 2?
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. And, you know, that's legitimate concerns. I can completely agree with that. But I think that one of the things that they're having issues with is trying to find a really reasonable way to bring these over to Year 2 in a similar fashion that some of these other weapons are. I mean, look at Suros Regime. It had you had your classic skill tree where, you know, it had what, like three perks to it or something like that. So now they're like doubling the perks that they're giving on these exotic weapons. They're giving more variety to what these all these gears are going to be able to do, you know, both weapons and armor. So I think they might be just needing more time to figure out exactly how they're going to be able to do that with some of these other year 1 weapons and armor that they're not going to be converting over to year 2.
Yeah. So so does this mean to everyone that, does this sound like to everyone, because it says that they will work as intended in year 1 activities? That means that year 1 activities are staying at that. Oh, that's what. Okay, so that's how they are measuring everything. They put everything in line with what the Taken King was going to be, and then measured that all out. So my question is, will I still be able to continue to collect year 1 exotics? You know, like I once 2.0 comes out, will I still be, because okay, here's the specifics. I'm really sad I didn't pick up the those ACDO Titan shoulders. And I didn't buy them because I had no room on my characters. But seeing that it says year 1 collection, I want to make sure that I can still tick that off if I don't get those before the Taken King comes out. Does that sound reasonable to you, Agrios?
Yeah, I absolutely think you'll still be able to get them. I mean, it's a bit of a question in the community right now, and this brings up another interesting point. I almost feel, I think it's almost certain that you'll still be able to get, like, you know, Galahorns and things like that from the appropriate content. Like, even when the Dark Below and House of Wolves came out, they didn't change which exotics came from the Vault of Glass chest, for instance. You don't get Fourth Horseman from the Vault of Glass chest. And even when the Dark Below launched, they actually left a glitch in where the exotics from the Vault of Glass were still coming up at the level 300 instead of at the level 331 initially, until they patched that. So I don't think they're going to be changing the drop tables for all the old places. On top of that, you'd still need to be able to acquire them to complete your grimoire, because there's a card for each of those. Although you won't get points for it, you still get a card to complete the grimoire. This also brings up another good question, the fact that Vanguard and Crucible marks are both going away altogether, and we're going to be having legendary marks. It's the next thing we're going to talk about. The question is, there is 2 different trophies, one for maxing out your Vanguard marks within a week and one for maxing out your Crucible marks within a week. Both of those are going to be gone, so are those trophies going to be unobtainable? People would like to think that they're going to correct it so that you could still complete all the trophies and earn your Platinum trophy. But then people brought up the fact that there were achievements that were set in Halo that eventually, after certain maps were removed from rotation, made those achievements completely unobtainable. If you hadn't got them before they changed the game, you weren't going to ever get that achievement.
Man, okay, so this is exactly my fear rounded out, because if they decide to take those ACDO into into Destiny 2.0, then probably what Xur sells is not going to be those year 1 runs, right?
Correct, but but what I would expect in that scenario is that if you bought the year 2 exotic, you're going to get the blueprint for the year 1 exotic with that, would be my guess.
What do you think about that, River?
Well, you do bring up a good point, and I think probably what might happen is that those that are not going to convert over are not going to be in Xur pool. It just makes the most sense, because people are going to get so angry if Xur is going to sell, like, I don't know, just pick one. Honestly, just pick one of those year 1 stuff, and it's not even going to be useful for the in-game content that they're going to be going after. I can see a lot of hate and a lot of a lot of uproar going over on that.
Unless it also has a bargain bin.
A bargain bin?
That would be amazing. That would be excellent.
Got 2 Galacorns, 5 strange coins.
Oh,
That's
man.
Terrible.
Okay, I'm in for Xur's bargain bin. That's
so. Are year 1 exotics the ones that aren't going to advance to year 2? The exotics that don't have a year 2 counterpart, are those now going to be removed from Nightfall loot table rewards? So you're going to have even less chance of getting the old exotics that aren't being carried over, and it's going to be even harder for you to find them because you have that many less chances.
Do you even care if you're going to be going into the Taken King?
Well, no, that's what Remy's talking about, though. He's a collector. He's a completionist. He wants to have that blueprint checked off in his exotic blueprints.
Yeah, it'll.
But I think what's important is that they're not taking. Go ahead.
No, that's it. That's what I was just saying. If it's going to be more difficult to be a collector because they're removing the amount of times you can get certain things because they're not carried over into year 2.
Well, it sounds like in a nutshell, yes. And the fact that they're not taking out that content for, year 1 stuff by keeping the Vault of Glass and things like that, it still gives you the avenue to do it. But yeah, I think it'll be harder for you to collect everything if you don't have all that stuff already.
We might hear in a couple months some way to get old exotic.
I mean, they did add the weekly bounties, and that's like another Nightfall reward going on right there. So you're right, Jazz.
But I would imagine that you won't get year 1 exclusive exotics through that reward either, because I mean, people would get mad if you got some weak armor they can't upgrade.
But my point is that there might be some other avenue that they could present in order to obtain those year 1 stuff if that's what you're looking for.
One thing that I've thought about, and I'm sorry, River, if you hit this, but my thought was, well, what if in the next expansion of year 2, they're like, well, we've improved these exotics, so we're bringing these into the year 2 table from the year 1 exotics. Maybe it's something that maybe over time they might improve more of these exotics and bring them back into the forefront. After there's a large population of guardians that have sleeper stimulant, they might just kind of play around with Galahorn again, just speculation, and bring it back into year 2 with a few different perks or maybe a little bit more of an upgrade, just for people to play around with that exotic again and enjoy it if they want to.
I asked this because I have exactly 2 regrets in Destiny. Number 1, I absolutely positively regret not pulling the LAN cable on Crota. Okay, like there came a moment in time, and Agrios was there, and this dude in the party was like, "Hey, if you give me leader, I can pull the cable on my PlayStation, and then he will just kneel forever and take damage. I will rejoin. We will kick his ass, and we'll move on with our lives." And I was the party leader, and I said, I'd really rather do it regular. I would really rather do it regular. And then it just never happened. Like it was months before I beat Crota on hard after that. And I just every time I see like Luke Smith talking about it, oh, you pulled the LAN cable on Crota and now his dad's showing up, I think, well, no, I didn't pull the LAN cable on Crota. I should have. And the second one is that I did not buy those ACDO Vents feedback. I should have. I need to check that off. And really, I wonder what's going to happen to, like, I have the Thorn bounty on both the PlayStation and the Xbox. I have not completed it. Is that going to stay, in my, so I can still pick those up? I still haven't gotten Mythoclast. I imagine that will drop still from the Vault of Glass.
Sure.
So I think that's the only 2 things that are missing. What's crazy is this last Xur Day was the first Xur Day ever that I have bought all 3 pieces of armor on both systems because all of those rolls were so much better than the ones that I already had. And I feel really good about that. I did also buy 2 Yellowhorn for PlayStation. Already had 3 on the Xbox.
That kind of brings up an interesting question, how they're handling the rolls for the armor blueprints.
What's that?
Like everything, like those stat rolls on the armor blueprints, are they all static?
That's what I would guess. Yeah. That's some speculation. You understand what he's talking about, Remy?
The different attributes, like the discipline and the strength and the intellect.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
Being that you just pick it up from the blueprint machine, how are they handling that, you know?
Yeah.
It sounds like to me that it's just like re-rolling, but you have to pay a lot more in order to get it.
Well, no, they actually have like the number is on them. It's not like saying you're going to get a random roll. It's the number's actually on them before you buy it.
So maybe
Exactly.
the highest stat would be available within that blueprint from whichever
That-
ones you previously
That, or they're
obtained.
actually going to a static roll for.
Which would
Year
make
2.
sense with them adding up to levels
Yeah.
now.
You know, and I think maybe that'll put more value onto ones that you find out in the wild because they have that ability to get higher stats.
Maybe,
No, see,
unless they're static as well.
Yeah, that's what I would think too. I bet you they're all static now.
Interesting.
Because here's the thing, you getting a couple more points isn't going to matter, because if you don't get the whole next block's worth of points, your time's not going to change on your grenade anymore and stuff.
But what if that is what you need?
Oh, yeah. What if you're only 2 or 3 points off from that block being filled from all of your gear?
Mhm.
Well, see, that's what I'm guessing is that they have broken these into increments that when you know, if you want to have this thing up all the way, you can see there's like 5 little niches at different times that you would get for, you know, whatever your grenade or we're talking about. I'm guessing that, you know, say, we'll just make it easy. Since there's 5 blocks, we'll say they add them all up to 100. Well, I would guess that each item gives you 20 then. So if you're wearing 5 items with intellect, you'd have it maxed. Now that's just a rough example to show you what I'm talking about. But like they know how much it takes to go to each block, so they're going to have that calculated that if so you don't waste points basically.
Interesting. I'm going to side with it's whatever the best one you picked up was, simply because it makes the most sense to me, and like I said, I just bought all 3 armor pieces for both systems, and I was only missing one of those exotics on one system. So, you know, buying that new one, that just pumps up the one that's going to be sitting in, like that gives me a reason to purchase it. That gives me a reason to want to do that. And also, where it says that this is not an extension of your vault, it absolutely is, in that I can go and pick up that piece of gear again. I can delete it out of my inventory, and that frees up space. Like, I understand they don't want to give people the wrong impression, but to me, that is absolutely extending my vault space. You know, I don't
Remember, you have to level them after that.
Yeah, totally, and that's fine. Right. I've got a bunch of unleveled exotics just sitting on my characters right now that I'd love to delete, and maybe at some point, you know, have a use for them. But I just want to check it off that box. I want my Mythoclast. I don't have any Mythoclast.
I kind of hope there's a hidden meta achievement for collecting everything, like ship shaders, exotic weapons, armor, and then it just gives you something random. But I know
am I wrong, am I wrong, or was there talk of there being more trophies added with the Taken King already?
There are.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought I heard that. Yeah, there were more trophies coming for sure. So I would hope that there's going to be a trophy. You know, collect either a certain number of exotics or collect all the available exotics in year 2 or something like that. You know,
probably going to be a certain number for sure.
Yeah, that's
the way, following their motif. That's how they do it. Although
yeah,
they don't have
They don't have anything to collect all. Like, they could have made you have to pick up all the ghosts in order to get that achievement, but they didn't. They just made it 50.
All right, as randomly says, I don't use at least 9 exotics in my vault. Destroying them to make space is hype. I agree.
And I wanted to address something that Shark said in the chat too. He says that he thinks that we're kind of thinking wrong on some of the year 1 guns not coming over to year 2. He's saying that it just means that they're getting upgraded with these extra perks. But whenever the Bungie weekly update came out, whenever it says, "Did you redesign Yellowhorn?" the reply was, "Yellowhorn will remain a year 1 exotic at year 1 levels." Which, correct me if I'm wrong, but that sounds like that the attack stat is going to be maxed out at year 1 levels, and it's not going to increase for the foreseeable future. Right?
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
But that will still be an excellent weapon to use for year one content.
And Crucible.
And
Okay, and here's this is
Agrios.
So here's this brings us to an interesting point of discussion in the community. There is speculation as to how this is going to work itself out exactly with how your guns are effective. So there's kind of two viewpoints on how your light is going to make you effective. And I'm not sure, honestly, which one I would lean toward. One would be very similar to how it is now, in that if I'm level 34 and I have a level, I don't know, like 100 or whatever the Kazastav is, however low the Kazastav is. If I'm level 34 and I try to use the Kazastav on one of the yellow captains in the Arena of Elders, it's not going to do very well because it's so low and it's based strictly on that gun. I mean, part of it, I'm not nerfed because of my level, but it's based on the gun doing the damage. Now, there's some speculation in the community that your overall light level is going to determine your damage, as opposed to just that gun now. So you could be using an underpowered, say, Gallahorn at 170, but if you had a completely maxed level light primary, a completely maxed level light secondary, and completely maxed level light armor, that Gallahorn's still going to do respectable damage, because although it's lacking light level, you're maxed out in every other category, and that may be what actually determines the damage you do with that weapon.
I think it's ancillary, but not the one stat.
So are you saying that you think that your 170 Gallahorn is going to do damage based on the 170 Gallahorn, or your 170 Gallahorn is going to do damage based on your overall light level?
Okay, let's say you had a 170 Gallahorn and you shot something that's like level 40 and it does 100 damage. If you had more than 170 light level, but your Gjallarhorn was still 170, it probably might do 120 damage, but it's not going to be your normal Gjallarhorn damage.
Okay, well, let me. Okay, so let me change the question here to see what you think about this. What if you have your light level is whatever it comes out to be, like, say it's some fictional number, 300.
300.
Okay, your average light level. And with that light level, in order to get that 300, you're wearing all max light stuff in your 170 Gallahorn. Now, what if you changed your primary out to be the 170 thing and put a max level light Gallahorn on, and your Guardian's level is still 300? Is that Gallahorn going to do the same damage because your light level is still 300, or is it going to be different because the Gallahorn itself is buffed?
I think it's going to be different based off the Gjallarhorn damage originally. Like, it's the light level is going to add damage to your Gjallarhorn round, but it's not going to be the most damage of it.
So you actually think it's an amalgam of the two,
right?
Varying theories. Gotcha. This is kind of a complex topic here. What do you other guys think?
But Gramson, I haven't heard anything from you in a while.
No, my mute button's too strong.
Opie.
What's wrong with that mute button?
I think a lot of this type of stuff we're only going to find out through experimentation. We're going to have to figure out just how switching out equipment affects our light level, and that might affect the way that we play a little bit. But as I was sitting here being frustrated that my mute button was on, I also remembered that there's this new item that Xur's selling for all those who still have exotics to collect, and I'm wondering if this item that's supposed to increase your chances of getting better items when bosses drop, if that might affect your chances of getting a Mythoclast or getting the Crux of Crota to drop.
I would think it would.
What do you guys think?
Absolutely.
And that might also help out. This is the other thing I was going to bring up. Thank you for bringing that up. And imagine how different the show would be if Warlock's mute button wasn't so heavy. I imagine him like Sisyphus trying to push that rock up the hill, and it's just he's pushing, and by that point, we've already moved on with the conversation.
Seriously, I've had like two really good comments. I'm like, why did no one get that?
Right, and then I feel bad. I didn't even know.
I didn't know either.
Why is everybody talking over me?
Right, right. We just don't even care. No wonder you made that comment previously that I don't care what you say. You're asking me questions. I'm like, all right, moving on. I ain't got no time for you, Warlock. No, totally. This could be one of those things where it's like if you're doing a strike, even I would think that this would, did it specify what activity, or did it just say? It gained exotics. It gained a higher chance of exotics from end bosses.
I believe Game Informer just said next boss, like the next boss that you fight.
Mm-hmm.
So I would assume that means the next chance that you have for exotic or raid type gear to drop.
Yeah,
it would increase the odds of getting exotic or raid type gear to drop.
If you're tired of getting strange coins on your nightfalls, go purchase one of those next time Zer's in the tower and try again next week.
So is this a buff? Is this a buff or is it a consumable?
I believe it's a consumable that you just use, and then you might have an icon in your character screen until you fight another boss type character, which, we might run into a lot of those in the open world of the Dreadnought even.
Because
thinking it's a buff.
What's that, Agrios?
I'm going to go with buff. I bet you it's a buff.
Like a 30-minute timer?
No, not a timer, but it's something you would buy from Xur, and it's triggered on the next boss. Like, I don't think it's an item you would buy and, like, be going along and be like, oh, I'm about to defeat Crota. I think I'm going to use this consumable on him. I think it's you buy it from Xur, and the next boss you beat gives you a higher chance.
So, like the Mercy coin. From the Trials of Osiris.
Yeah, exactly. The boons. Like you buy a boon from Osiris or whatever. Yeah. And the next time that happens in the Trials of Osiris, like you don't actually get an item in your inventory that you would use up when you choose. You have it when you leave Brother Vance. Well, I think when you leave Xur, you'll have a little mark like right underneath your Nightfall buff that'll say the next time you defeat a boss, you have a greater chance at better rewards or whatever.
No, I'm going to tell you where that won't work. If you buy it and then you go do a raid, it's always going to be the first boss. Or you have to leave the raid during the middle of the raid, go buy it, and then come back if you want it to be on the last boss.
It will be consumable.
I don't know if it'd really work on Prison of Elders for anything cool either, but the previous bosses and raid bosses will probably work.
Prison of Elders boss with special drops like that.
Well, like, what if you're trying to get a better weapon from Skolas first day, and you fight the boss before Skolas? He's not going to drop any loot for you.
Right. But I think my question would be, like, when you go into Crota, like, is it going to go off when you beat Urt instead of Crota?
Man, that's a
or
really...
would it only go off at end bosses, like Remy was asking initially? See, they didn't really specify in Game Informer, and this is one of the things that's going to be, I think, up in the air until we go and actually do it, but...
Well, we're actually said boss, right?
This Wednesday, who knows? They might talk more about it there.
My guess is that it's going to be a boon that you manually have to use on the field.
Yeah, a consumable. Yeah.
Because if they make it timed and you start fighting a boss and then you fail so many times and it just runs out, you'll be mad.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I don't think it'll have a timer.
Yeah, they definitely don't want to piss people off.
Sounds more like a boon.
I don't even know if it'll really work in the previous content anyway. I mean, a lot of the changes that they've made for like the loot system, I don't know if that's retroactive either.
I would hope that this is in part because of the way they're changing the content in order for people, like we were just talking about Remy not being able to get the ACDCO gauntlets or whatever they are. Because as of now,
ACDCOs. It's a new type of Cheerio.
It's like the next album.
Rock flavored Cheerios, ACDCOs.
Now, do you think the changes that they're making to loot where you're more likely to get a drop you don't have already, do you think that's going to affect the year 1 stuff?
I hope.
Yeah. I think everyone hopes.
They're redesigning everything, all the missions from the ground up. They're doing new quest lines the whole way from, quest 1 on. I don't think that... I really feel like all of these changes are going to affect the entire game because they're really changing the entire game.
You know what? Why don't we use this opportunity to move on to the next section, which is legendary marks, which I was super excited about, and then I was really pissed off about. But just real quick, anybody else have anything for the exotic conversation?
Yes.
River, go.
Kinda. It was more to answer Agrios' question about the whole light level thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So it's actually very simple, and it's not very complex at all, because all it is just the average of your attack and your defense. So you can still have like a super high attack and super low defense and still have the same light level. So the whole light level thing is in no way going to affect your attack. It just means that you have what's assumed as acceptable gear in order to tackle whatever light level the activity that you're wanting to do is.
So you're saying that the damage that a weapon does is determined 100% exclusively by that weapon and its attack rating coupled with your actual experience level?
Yes.
Okay.
That makes the most sense to me.
I wonder if that might bar you from certain activities if you choose to use a special loadout.
The speculation... Oh, go ahead. The speculation online, I think, was that light level number that you're getting, that average number, is the number then used. Like, you could pretend that that's the number stamped on all your weapons instead of whatever number is on them for determining damage.
Well, see, I'm going by the exact wording on the tooltip, which is a higher light score improves both your damage output and your defense. It doesn't replace it.
That's a good point.
But it's improving because you have a higher attack or defense stat.
Which is how you can
it's if you had really high weapons, it's going to help your defense, but it's not going to help your defense as much as actually having good defensive weapon or defensive gear.
But you can still have the same light level if you have. You can still have the same light level if you have a 300 attack weapons and 0 defense, or if you had 300 defense and 0 attack stat.
You have an average.
Your light level's only helping. It's not replacing.
But that makes no sense to have like a 1 attack stat in all your weapons. Maybe not 1, like 3 in all your attack weapons, and you still do the same damage as everybody else who has the 300 attack stat on all their weapons.
Well, no, see, that's not the way it would work. Okay, so the way you would have an average light based upon your thing. So if somebody had all of their lights maxed, their average light's going to be higher than you with your deficient weapon.
Well, he's saying if you had all like level 1 weapons and all 300 gear, and someone
300
had
armor, yeah,
and someone had all level 1 armor and all 300 weapons, they should be different, and they are going to be different. It's just they're going to have the same improvement to both those scores. Do you see? Like, it's not going to affect the base. Get it running over my words. It's not going to affect the base armor, but it is going to improve what you have. So you might block. If you block like 1,000 damage with 300 armor, and you had 0 armor instead, you might take 3,000, but your light's going to help. I'm running over my words, so I'm a bit disorganized. What I'm trying to say is the light level is helping your armor and your attack, but it's not the main stat. The main stat is what's on the weapon or the armor.
So what you're saying is that it provides at least a boost.
Yes.
Okay. I could see that.
Yeah, the way that I see it is like, say your light level's 300 and your weapon is like 250 and your armor is another number that makes that average to 300. Because you can dish out that much damage, then technically your armor is better because you're killing something faster than it can hurt you.
I like it.
I could see that.
Moving on.
Okay.
That's just how I see it.
So, what are legendary marks? Legendary marks will replace Vanguard marks and Crucible marks as the new form of unifying currency in the tower. How can I earn legendary marks? By completing daily story chapters, weekly heroic strikes, and daily PvP activities. By dismantling Year 2 legendary items, assuming you don't have the maximum value of 200 legendary marks associated with your player account. So, unlike the current marks, your marks are now going to be account-wide, such as like Glimmer is. Before, you could carry up to 200 of each type of mark on each of your characters for a total of 600 of each for your, total. But now you're only going to be able to hold 200 total for all of your characters shared. So it's going to be very important to spend your marks as soon as you're ready to spend them so they're not wasted. Your old Crucible and Vanguard marks themselves are going to be turned into commendations on a 50-to-1 basis. They'll be available on September 15th from your local postmaster. All
right.
What are we going to say about marks? That's all I have about marks.
All right, legendary marks. I was really excited to see that it was all going to be this one currency, because then I was out doing Dead Orbit bounties. I was out creating Dead Orbit rep, but I was unable to buy any of the gear without going into the Crucible, which never really made a lot of sense to me. Like it kind of makes sense, but as far as here is 4 vendors where I can't buy anything at all because I don't have the time to play in Crucible, that's bothersome. That's bothersome. And when I found out that legendary marks were just going to cover the whole thing, I thought, this is an amazing change. Destiny or Bungie can do no wrong. And then I found out that the number is capped at 200 and it's player wide, and that bothers me because I like to save up marks to I like to save them up in case I need something special, like I really need a sniper with arc and I want to buy one of these new ones. I'll go check out my characters and find out what they're at to see which one I buy them from. But this problem is coupled with the fact that you can just continue to earn them, and part of me feels like there was like a job well done associated with capping yourself. This means people who sit in the Crucible they're just going to have all of everything everywhere. Like there is no place for me to say, okay, I've done this with this character. Now I need to move on with this. That's just completely unlimited. I think is a horrible idea.
Why is it specific to the Crucible?
Well, if you can earn these marks in the Crucible, right?
You can earn them anywhere.
Okay, so then I'm just thinking about people who just grind on Crucible, like they don't do the story missions.
Grind Dragon Strikes or whatever too.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just not a very Crucible centric player, so it's just I don't know. I just feel like people who grind that out is just I don't know. I guess but I mean it holds true for both sides, in that the people who have all day to play it are just going to be that much further ahead than everyone else. Like I felt like with a cap previously, there was a certain, you knew where everybody kind of was, and playing the multiple characters fed into your abilities to do this.
Well, I think now with them requiring legendary marks for a lot more purchases, such as you need to spend 150 legendary marks to upgrade one exotic to the Year 2 version of it that you've already earned. So if they actually had like a 200 or like right now it's a 100 mark weekly cap, it would take you a really long time to just to upgrade your collection of exotics alone. And I think right now, just even with the unlimited marks earning, you're not going to have time to save any marks for a long time because you have so many things you're going to need to upgrade going into Year 2.
River,
and you
what
have
do you
more
think about
avenues
this?
for it. Oh, sorry. I was just gonna jump on with Agrios here and say that there are more avenues for you to obtain legendary marks as well. So while and it's also opening it up to where you can pretty much play however you want, and you're still going to get a steady stream of legendary marks for you to spend on whatever it is that you want. So I think overall it's a good system to go with, personally.
I think with everything that they're making you spend them on too, like the new things that you're going to need to purchase with them, it would, for the people who do have the time, it would be very much like a brick wall if they had a cap, because they'd hit that brick wall and be like, well, can't earn any more legend. I can't earn any more of my exotics this week. Can't earn any more of this week.
See
I'm
you
done
next
playing
week.
this week. Yep.
Yeah. I totally felt that way with the House of Wolves when I got like my one etheric light from level 34. I'm like, oh, I'm kind of done for the week now. There's nothing else for me to really try and grind for until the weekly reset if I can't find a group to do 35 and get another etheric light from it. And so this definitely to me gives me a bigger carrot and a longer stick to chase, because to know that I can go do a strike, and if any legendary drops and I don't like any of those legendaries, say I get one or two from doing one strike or two, then I get the marks from the strike, plus I know I'll have two extra from those legendaries that I don't want anymore. And so it seems like any activity that you do, you're going to get a slow trickle, if not, a steady pouring of these legendary marks to keep your character moving toward whatever goal you want to. I think they're definitely doing their best to try and to get rid of the stagnation that happens after you play really hard for 4 to 8 weeks, and then you kind of hit your wall of, well, I've got everything I want, and now I'm kind of done.
Well, I know, but what happens to the players who do that in the first week? The players who sit there for, 23 and a half hours a day and play it, and now they've done everything that they want to do because they were able to just do it in the first week. Like, what happens to that? Like, how do you maintain that?
There's certain things that you can't do everything in the first week, like testing the weapons and getting your arms day. We didn't get to this stuff yet, but like from the weaponsmith, you have to rank up your weaponsmith and then go test weapons for him, and you go test a weapon for him, and then you get a new legendary the next week. If the legendaries you get from that process are exclusive, you can still only get one of those per week.
Jez, what do you think?
About marks? Or do we move on in the meantime?
Marks.
Yeah.
We're talking about marks.
We're talking about marks as well as the whole weekly caps on all the sorts of things, and whether it's good or bad, or how that's going to work for the people who have unlimited time versus the people who have limited time.
Yeah, really the 200 cap is just to make people stop and actually go back to the tower and do some town time. But the not having a cap on the weekly thing is, like, they said it perfectly in the stream. They don't want to say, oh, you're having too much fun. You're done now. So I think, they're going to have all the weapons, but you're still going to be able to get what weapons you want, because their weapons are going to be just the same ones that you can get. You're just going to be more choosy.
I see what you're saying.
And I want to say one more thing on this one. And it's on the infusion system. I know we hadn't really got to that yet, but it is said that in order to increase the stats of whatever weapon that you really like and that you really want to increase and keep with you for a while, it has to be with a higher level item. So in order to increase this one, you have to have something that has a higher attack stat, basically. Which may require you to infuse that as well. So you still need a lot more legendary marks for that kind of stuff. Is that right?
Well, correct.
I wonder if you might need to sacrifice more level 40s. Like when you have like a level 40 legendary and you want to infuse that, maybe get it to exotic quality, like damage. maybe you have to sacrifice 3 legendary weapons instead of just 1.
No, you have to sacrifice an equal or higher. You have to sacrifice a higher level weapon to it. It won't let you.
If you had a legendary,
the-
legendary that could get to exotic, you'd have to sacrifice an exotic.
I don't think you can upgrade from legendary to exotic.
It's
exotic,
the number.
They're going to be set items in the game. You can't just turn a legendary into exotic. I don't think.
Well, get it to that same attack level, though.
Well, yeah, you'd have to sacrifice. See, here's the thing: when you're not at that attack level, you're going to find a legendary, a level 40. Say you're at like a level, it's like an equivalent of a level 39 rifle. Well, then you're going to find a level 40 rifle with a higher light level, and when you sacrifice it to the lower level one, it's going to bring it up to that even level, and then you'll be at the cap.
Well, right on. Moving on.
It's the unlocked, not equipped, of the same year, of the same gear slot, of a similar quality, which I can only assume is rarity, and a higher level.
Got it.
Sounds right to me.
So then, does that mean that you can't infuse level 40s? Like, because wouldn't
Correct.
every level 40 be the exact same attack value?
No.
Correct.
Because you have vendor weapons, raid weapons. They're going to have different stats.
Well, no, I think it's going to be just like it is now, whereas, once your weapon, like your weapons are going to have more or less levels, they're going to be at, light levels, though.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
the
like
light level,
365 attack.
the light level of vendor weapons are not going to be the same as your raid weapons.
But when you infuse them up to
eventually
level,
you can.
Eventually, when you infuse them, when things are maxed, all maxed out infused weapons are going to be at the same final light and attack power.
Yeah, they're all going to have the same cap.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Excellent. Moving on.
Clear as mud.
Hmm?
I said clear as mud.
Clear as mud indeed. Okay, so moving on. Where was I here now? Okay. Now that my nameplate displays my light and level, where can I strut my grimoire score? It will be displayed under your level when your guardian is inspected. So now you must inspect people to see their grimoire. I don't like that. I liked having it on the nameplate. I like noticing other people with high grimoires and complimenting them on it. And now that's just all going to go away.
No, you just have to be more proactive about it.
But you're not going to happen to notice it like you do now. Like you go and play some Crucible with some friends on the reward screen. You see someone has 3665. You're like, wow, you got max grimoire. It's awesome, dude. That's not going to happen anymore.
As I hear that all the time.
You don't hear it because you don't have that cap.
That's right.
That's funny.
Are you raising the Glimmer Cap? The Glimmer Cap remains as it has been in year 1. You have plenty to spend it on in year 2. And we already have discussed the vault space. Now, let's go into a few more details here, as compiled by the community of things that we noticed while the stream's going on. The UI tooltips on the stats, the strength, the intellect, and the discipline are now updated. They actually, when you put the tooltip on it, tell you the cooldown time of each of those individual things. So you can tell right off the bat exactly how long it's going to be right when you make your changes. The updated quest tab appears to be able to hold up to 32 in total. We saw the first hints at the quests for the new subclasses, in particular the Stormcaller quest line. We will all receive a Spark of Light. It's a new consumable. There's one per taking purchase, and it boosts your level up to 25, the minimum level for the Taking King. Do you guys think the Spark of Light is going to do anything for people who don't have an under 25 character? Do you think there's going to be an alternate thing to turn it in for, or do you think it's just going to be junk?
It's junk.
Well, it's not.
Well, it's junk. The only time you're going to use it is you're going to be like, oh, I think I want to change my hair color. And you delete your character, and you recreate it, and hey, instant 25. But other than that, you're going to be like, I'm not going to use this because I'm already 34.
Maybe for us, people who've been playing this game for like a damn year.
Oh, but that was the question. Is there going to be any use for it for people that are already 34?
Yeah, because not everybody has 3 characters that are 34.
You'd think the tower could be Barber by now.
I mean,
in that
who was
case,
it? Somebody even said, I think it was Belle. I think even Belle said she has a 34 hunter, but she has like a level 5 Titan and a 9 Warlock or something. That's going to help her out.
I should have phrased. I was talking about the people that already have max of 3 characters.
Right, that was my question.
Junk.
If you already have 3 over 25s, is it just going to be junk, or is it going to be useful for anything? Could you turn it in for some other sort of reward or boost, or does it turn into rep or something for you if you dismantle it instead of using it? You know, something like that for the all over 25 people.
Yeah, change your hair color, I guess.
Hegemony says, save it for the 4th class in the future. You heard it here, folks. First, folks. Yeah, I don't know. It just looks like it's going to sit in my vault like 25, level 25. I can't even remember the last time I was that level. Actually, you know what? I could figure it out by going back through my tweets, because I tweeted out this this vanilla Destiny helmet for my hunter that I had before I was able to get a higher level one. So yeah, I don't know.
I think I'm actually going to redo my hunter and just play through the story missions really quick with my hunter and listen to the Nost. And then I'm going to tweak him up to 25 and play the Taken King content.
So here's something that I hope is taken care of in 2.0 is sometimes I'd just like to go back and play through the story again just to get the feel and the information that they're given. But sometimes it's difficult for me to know what order to play them in. You know, it's not like they're listed. It's not like first mission, second mission. It's like this is a level 5 mission, and this is also a level 5 mission, and this is a level, you know, like it doesn't have a scaling that makes sense or a way for me to play through the story again to maybe pick up something I didn't see just from the beginning. You know, I'd really like to have an easier time going back through the game. You know, maybe I'd just like to play through the campaign again. And it's difficult for me to do that because I don't know where to start or where I even left off. Some of my characters have not completed the game yet, just because once I got them to a certain level, I picked up some gear from somewhere else and then just continued to do end game content. I don't think either of my hunters have beat the game, and I'd like to, but you know, sometimes more than one mission is open for you. So you know, on different planets, I have no idea where I am on some of those things.
You know what might solve this? They're adding a quest system.
Yeah,
Right. I was just gonna say that. This might be solved by some of that stuff that you're going to get will lead you right through that. Like it kind of holds the quest itself kind of holds your hand and tells you where to go.
And I'm pretty sure even if you're max level, we haven't done that quest, it might be able for us to pick up.
That would be cool.
Okay.
Okay, moving on.
Moving on? Okay. So, you can acquire new ghost shells from the speaker. They've updated his inventory and all his stuff now does stuff. Class items are no longer just vanity items. They actually help the character become more powerful. They have abilities such as boosting the upgrade speeds of specific weapon types and such. The ghosts themselves specialize in collecting things on patrol, as in a better spirit bloom sensor or something of the like to help you find materials. Collections. Oh wait. Rep changes for factions. You pledge allegiance to each faction vendor. Each time you gain rep for a Vanguard or Crucible, you will also earn faction rep as well. All the year 1 rep will be carrying forward. You can only change your faction allegiance once per week. You have to appears you have to actually pledge your allegiance to that particular faction to be able to buy their wares. perks have been changed up on the armor. Now they offer choices that you'll have to make. You have different options. Do you want to be more reactive or proactive, for example? They also have perks like Solar Burn Skull perk, reduces the effect of a burn on you, and it can be useful on Nightfall type things. Better rep packages, guaranteed legendary, higher drop rates. Once a shader has dropped, it'll be taken out of the pool, therefore more likely to be able to complete the sets. So it's going to be smarter rewards. Lord Shax now has quests for you, PvP quests from level 5. There's weekly Crucible bounties. If you complete all 5 weekly bounties, you get a Nightfall tier reward bounty. You get increased Glimmer from Guardian kills using perks on Ghost Shells now. So you can actually boost your effectiveness for earning Glimmer in the Crucible.
Before we move on
bounties are
from
also
Shax, before we move on from Shax, quick question, Remy. Did you notice the color scheme of all those weapons and all the ghost shells?
What, the blue and the green?
Yeah. Doesn't that seem a little familiar for someone in Seattle or near Seattle?
Definitely, definitely, and also the Seahawk symbol is the hammer that the Titan carries. Like it's the same. It's the same exact symbol. Totally, totally, and I think that's funny. Poor Seahawks.
Okay, move along.
Move along.
Crucible weekly bounties are also available from the Crucible Quartermaster now. They showed a new perk where it increases super energy by getting heavy weapon kills. So that's something new. The Cryptarch will sell legendary engrams that won't turn into shards for legendary marks. So that's another use for your marks. The Cryptarch rep will, of course, be carrying forward like the rest of them. The Gunsmith now has rep that you can gain by testing his field weapons, or field testing his weapons, I mean. It's similar to the bounty systems. Gaining rank with him will allow you to choose Arms Day orders, which will grant you a new gun every Wednesday after reset. It'll be available from rank 1 onwards, and every week there will be a new set of weapons available. Whatever kind of weapon you opt to test is going to be reflected in your actual reward. They gave us an example of a Saurus scout rifle that you could receive from the Arms Day and showed us its upgrade tree. We talked a little about the infusion system before. I mentioned what all the required abilities were for infusing already. It keeps weapons current by consuming other weapons. It's available for all Year 2 legendary and exotic weapons / armor pieces. So apparently, so my question is, this goes back to something that Crimson said, being that the infusion's available for exotic weapons. I would assume then you can sacrifice legendary weapons to your exotic as long as it's a higher attack power, and vice versa?
Oh, you just read same rarity, remember?
Well, it said we weren't. I'm not entirely sure. The way they actually phrased that was a similar quality, and I said I would assume that means rarity, but I'm not sure. So would that mean that you could use exotics to upgrade legendaries? But no. So does that mean you actually have to keep burning exotics to be able to upgrade your exotics?
I think that's what that means. Just because they did mention at some point that they wanted to lessen the sting that when you picked up the fifth exotic, the fifth same exotic that you have, they wanted that to mean more than just this shard. They wanted you to be able to make that worthwhile.
But it seems kind of odd to have exotics of 2 different attack levels. I mean, the only thing that I could think of is like the end of raid weapon is usually a bit higher.
Well, no, I think what it means is like when you first got your exotics before, you had to actually put experience into them and level them up and raise their attack power. Well, I think that's that's how you use infusion is that you'll sacrifice. Oh, I see what you're saying. Because how would the exotic be stronger than the other exotic in the first place?
Right, like all of our current exotics are max level, or you ascend them, but there's no like intermediary where you have to level up. Like you don't have two different levels of exotic now.
Right. So, like, what you would have to like manually level an exotic enough to sacrifice it to another exotic, or would you just sacrifice old exotics that you already have in your inventory to them? Well, the attack power would be lower though. So yeah, I don't know. It doesn't. I don't
Here's the thing: during the stream, they were pretty careful about avoiding highlighting the infusion node on the Suros regime, and it does have the infusion node on it. So I can only assume that you just need like another exotic or an exotic shard or something like that in order to increase the stat value.
I mean, it's possible that the stuff that you get from the kiosk is not like the max level, so you need to get a randomly dropped one and infuse it from that.
Or even something that Zur might sell.
Well, I mean, you don't have to infuse, do you? I mean, infusing.
So if you want it to be max, is what I mean. Or that might be future proofing too.
Okay, so you have to infuse to get to max level. You couldn't organically just use the weapon until it was maxed?
I'm just saying, the nodes on the Suros regime, the black one. So
I'm not talking about the nodes. I was talking
saying.
about the actual attack.
Yeah, that's what that's for. That's what infusion.
Well, no, but what I'm saying is the attack raised as you leveled the nodes up on the old exotics. The way they worked is as you leveled them up and used them, the attack raised along with the nodes raising. So is infusion literally just pumping your weapon full of experience, or is it required to raise your attack? And leveling an exotic isn't going to actually raise the attack anymore, just unlock nodes.
That's how it works for legendaries to increase the attack stat. So I'm thinking that's what's required to raise the attack stat on your exotic weapons as well.
Crimson Warlock.
I think it's I think your weapon can only get so far naturally, and then to get it higher, then you need to infuse it. So it's kind of like you've got your soft tier, and then you've got your higher tier, and we just the only problem is we've seen infusion, but we haven't played with it yet. I mean, we have an idea how it works, but we don't know all of the mechanics just yet.
I want to know if that's just where it ends. If you can only infuse it once, because I wasn't certain if that node went away after they infused it, or if it's something that you can keep building up. Did
it disappear on that legendary that Deej do?
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't either.
Yeah, I don't know offhand.
This is what prompted me to say this, is I don't remember it disappearing. But
YouTube.
Where were we going with this?
It didn't disappear.
We're quickly running out of time.
At max.
Right. I just talked about infusion. The next thing I was going to say was swords. We had already talked about that a little before. We saw a new sword called the Arc Edge. Previously, they mentioned that Eris was going to give us a quest to find a lost weapon type. It may lead us to the new sword.
I hope so.
I was pretty excited. Swords are cool.
Mm-hmm.
I hope it's like the Vestian Dynasty, or the or that fusion rifle, where everybody just gets one. Like, here is the base version of this, and now we will then let you go out and find other ones.
I think that it's going to be something like that. Like, it's going to be a unique weapon that everybody gets one of, sort of like, Murmur or the Vestian Dynasty. Yeah, although I think we're going to have to go on a quest to get it.
I'm super, super, super excited about swords. I'm super excited about sword play. Bungie tweeted out this Vine that showed two people playing with swords at some point right around launch. and there was no swords. There was no swords.
No.
I remember we were talking about how cool it would be to just equip your melee weapon. Like if you were running around trying to be sneaky, you could just have that melee weapon out and you could just use that by itself. I'm excited to see where that goes. We're quickly running out of time here. What is up next? Unless anybody wants to add other than swords to swords. All right, excellent. Also, Hedge says that was completely lost on an Australian, and I'm thinking that he's referring to the Seahawks, which are Seattle's football team. And for those around the world, that's the game that we have. I think that you guys call it hand egg. I think that's what the international name for football is, hand egg.
or they just call it American football.
Right, American football. I think hand egg is probably more common. Moving on.
All right. Well, that's the meat of what we had this Wednesday for the update. While we're talking about it, in the closing of the weekly update this week, they mentioned that next week they're going to be going to do a strike, and after that they're holding court in the Dreadnought. The strike the Dreadnought. Excuse me. The Strike the Dreadnought takes place next Wednesday. This coming up Wednesday, I mean, August 26th. Again at 11 a.m. Pacific time. And it's going to be hosted by design lead James Tsai and Mr. Fruit from the community. And the Wednesday after that, we're going to follow up with the Court of Oryx on September 2nd, again at 11 a.m. And that's going to be hosted by designer Ben Womack, Luke Smith, and Laced Up Lauren is going to be there from the community.
Sweet. Super sweet.
So we also had a huge amount of Game Informer articles dumped this week. We had one about why is Gallahorn overpowered. A quote from that. There was a bug late in development of Destiny where the trails didn't appear for the submunitions of Gallahorn. So you couldn't see what it was doing, and it wasn't this spectacular display that is now. However, the bug didn't get logged as this doesn't look awesome. It got logged as this isn't powerful enough. That's a quote from senior designer Sage Merrill on why the Gallahorn is overpowered. He went on to say, I can overpower a gun just by adding the audio. People will say this gun is useless, but then we change the audio and give it a huge sniper boom, and the next day people will say, this gun's completely broken and overpowered. All we did was change the audio. It doesn't matter if guns are really balanced, it matters if they are perceived as being balanced. So this is an interesting quote from the designers. Anybody have anything in particular they want to discuss about that, or should I move on to the next article?
Patience and time. That's all I gotta say.
I love patience and time. It sounds great. OP.
Exactly.
Moving on.
We had another article that was about how the Taken King changes Destiny's competitive multiplayer. They were talking to design lead Lars Bakken, and the video discusses new modes, the current role of vehicles, and how PvP content can tease future PvE environments. We saw some interesting weaponry, a bony shotgun, and eventually we saw some interesting hunter claws they were wearing in this video. So there's lots of interesting sights to see. The Rift solves the problems with the traditional capture the flag mode by rewarding partial progress. So you get rewards right along. You don't have to complete the run or whatnot to get rewards. It's sort of a time-based thing to a degree. And they place a time limit on the Rift runner himself, so you can't just take the spark and go hide in a corner with it. They now have a quest line that introduces the Crucible with shacks, pushing you into the experience. It's called the Forge of the Crucible. So I would assume even if you're well past this point in the game, you would still be able to go back and pick up this quest? Or do you think this was only going to be for new people who haven't unlocked the Crucible modes like we all did in the beginning?
They wouldn't lock off all this content for like the 1 to 34 crowd for people that already have 34s. It wouldn't make sense that they wouldn't get to experience it.
I agree with Jez.
Yep. Especially where they have that level 25 boost when you buy it. No one that buys it's also going to have a level 1 character.
There it is. I'm moving on.
An additional view of Shaq's inventory, in which we can see some new ghosts and such. They refactored all the bounties. More bounties will actually pay out. Excuse me. They have relatively easy bounty, with easy bounties that escalate into weekly bounties. They give more challenging rewards. And elimination mode will now be available during the times when Trials of Osiris isn't, which I think there should have always been some sort of correlation between those two for practice sake, if nothing else. They also mentioned a Blink nerf. Blink is not going to be quite as good as it was before. Ominous for all those Blink shotgunners out there. They had another article this week that dropped called "The Taken King Fixes Destiny's 3 Biggest Problems," and in it, it's definitely worth checking out. And they discussed the 3 problems are the story, the light system, and the loot grind. And they talk about how they wanted to make the story more involved with missions and the characters in Tower, and the Tower will actually do things now. As far as the light system goes, it's still being tuned. The light level is separate from your character, as we discussed in depth. And as far as the loot grind goes, they've expanded the inventory. There's more different types of loot to get now with the new abilities on your ghosts and class items. And they've redeveloped the algorithm so that you don't get stuff you already have more often. And the most recent one to drop was Bungie breaks down Destiny's new subclasses. Well, Bungie always planned to release the initial 6 subclasses with the original release of Destiny. A separate team has been quietly working on the 3 additional subclasses as far back as the release of the game last year. Senior designer Sage Merrill said, "I remember the initial release of Destiny when we created the Fist of Havoc ability for the Titan. We thought, man, the Fist of Havoc's so good, how are we ever going to make something as good for the other classes? And then we went and made the other abilities for the other classes, and when we came back, we thought, man, Fist of Havoc actually looks kind of weak now." That happened again when we were designing subclasses for the Taken King. That's pretty exciting. When Bungie first started working on the new Warlock ability, they considered actually turning the class into a kind of necromancer who would resurrect fallen enemies and minions and then send them after foes. The team actually hopes to return to this idea at some point. They also said that the Void Hunter was probably the hardest in development. He started off as a tracker character who could see through walls, and the fantasy was good, but it didn't play out well. They even discussed how very early in Destiny they had 4 classes that they were trying to design around, and but the 4th never really just seemed to fit it in, so they cut it down to 3 and never really looked back. They also break down in detail the 3 different classes and some of the new unique abilities coming to them. They talk about for the Sunbreaker Titan, the Hammer of Soul, the Thermite Grenade, his new Sunstrike, and Firekeeper ability. I probably shouldn't... how much time do we have? Should I go into any more detail on these?
I don't know. Probably not.
We've probably got about 10 minutes.
Yeah,
you think so?
10 minutes.
Okay, so should I detail these abilities or no? Do we want to work through this, or do we just want to talk about what we have so far?
Well, we don't know how much you have left.
Well, this is the last Game Informer article right now. This is the last of what I have aside from a few community snippets.
Go quick.
Go quick, okay. Go quick.
Deciding was going to take more time than it would be.
Awesome. All right, so I mentioned the Sunbreaker Titan Hammer of Soul. This Titan super ability allows you to conjure a flaming hammer that will shatter enemy skulls with devastating melee attacks. The thermite grenade, these grenades create explosions, send streaks of fire rushing towards your targets. The Sunstrike, this melee attack allows Titans to set their enemies on fire. And the Firekeeper ability, an augment to the Hammer of Soul that makes the special last longer. It also gives you an overshield as long as you're standing in a sunspot, which is a pool of fire that Sunbreakers can create with their Hammer of Soul.
Cool.
The Warlock Stormcaller has his Storm Trance ability. This gives Warlocks an arc lightning attack that deals massive damage to multiple enemies. The Storm Grenade, this explosion calls down a localized lightning storm. The Thunder Strike, an electrifying melee strike that hits from an extended range. And the ability Perpetual Charge, where performing a melee kill recharges your grenade ability, while grenade kills recharge your melee skill. To break down the Night Stalker class, we have Shadow Shot. This super gives hunters a bow that can one-shot enemies. This shot can also create a void anchor on walls and floors that tethers enemies to one spot. The duration of this anchor is extended with every enemy you kill, so every tethered enemy you kill increases the length of time your tether will stay in place and capture more enemies. This is one of the ways Bungie was able to balance the ability for both PvE and PvP. They also have the Void Wall Grenade. This explosion emits a horizontal wall of burning void light. They have the Smoke ability. In addition to grenades, Night Stalkers can also throw smoke that slows and disorients their enemies caught in the blast. And the new Shade Step ability, a well-timed roll that will allow you to avoid damage. A simple but effective thing that has me rather excited for the Night Stalker class. And what do you guys? What class? What's your first one of these? Which one you go for first?
Night Stalker.
Yep.
Night Stalker.
Really?
Stormcaller.
I figured you'd be going with the Sunbreaker, man.
Yep, Stormcaller.
What about you, Agros?
Stormcaller for sure.
Okay, so we're split. Yeah, I want to do the Titan one, but I've just been playing so much Hunter recently, and I've been playing Hunter as a defensive, invisible field medic, and now having this option to hold down and back enemies and abilities seems like a really support class thing to do. So I'm really excited about that.
They're so snappy.
Especially I could use Kepri's Sting and still gain that invisibility. It just won't be as thorough as being able to Shadowjack a bad guy on my way out or Blade Dance my invisible ass out of the way. So
Excited to see what
roll.
new exotic armors there's going to be for these classes.
right, things that will feed directly into these specific classes, things that will update the previous classes. I don't know. But that is it. This is it. This is our show. We have no more time. So why don't we do shout-outs starting with Agrios?
I'm going to give a shout-out to the community focus feature this week, Lady Desiree. She is a great pianist, and I had the pleasure of meeting her at the Destiny Con that took place this past weekend, which was in itself awesome.
Man, we should have talked about that.
Yeah, big shout out to her.
Damn. Great shout out. Jez.
First, I wanted to say that next week I won't be on the show because I'll be in Seattle for PAX.
Oh, jealous.
Yay.
And secondly, shout out to Leopard, Stealth, and Carrie going on their week-long trip, ending up at PAX.
Excellent. Excellent, excellent. Crimson Warlock.
Shout out to Cosmo for getting yelled at on his first stream because he was fielding the wrong questions.
Yeah,
that was all
awesome.
scripted.
I think
I know.
that was perfect.
I know, but
that was awesome.
It was
great.
good, but the tease was like, okay, we've heard it. Just show it to us now, please.
It was great.
It was scripted, but I feel like that was Cosmo's idea.
River.
Likely.
Shout out to Wolf Bible and DBM Gamer 0722. These guys kept me company whenever I was doing a stream the other day on my Twitch channel, and it was a lot of fun. So I appreciate them just showing up and sticking around.
Excellent, excellent. Those guys kick ass.
Mm-hmm.
My shout out is to Mystic Rose. I've noticed Mystic Rose in what I can only describe as every single chat of every single Destiny stream I've been in since the beginning of time. And for this loyalty and this support of all things Destiny, we're going to have her on the show here in the next couple of weeks because I want to highlight people who are really putting in the time, and she is always on in chat, always very respectful, always very helpful, and I want to push that forward because that's really awesome, and I know that I appreciate it like hell, and I know that everybody else that she is supporting appreciates it like hell. So shout out to you. Also, we are about to do a post-stream game 10 minutes after the show. Anyone wants to stick around for that? Not sure what we're doing yet, but it's on Xbox One. If you want to participate, please stay in the chat, and we will catch up with you then. That wraps up episode 53. I would like to thank everyone listening for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you have any questions or suggestions for topics to be discussed on the show, please leave them in the comments below or send them to feedback@guardian1.net, and we will see you next week.
Choo choo.